Good morning. Wow. I congratulate you on being here this morning on time. Be kind to those stragglers that show up about 11 this morning. Welcome to worship. It's a beautiful day, and we are blessed by your presence here this morning at Highlands United Church, whether you're here in the sanctuary for the first time or you've been here all your life. Welcome. And to those that join us live stream, wherever you might be, we're delighted that you have chosen to join us for worship this morning as well. As we do that, we acknowledge that we gather here on the unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples and the traditional lands of the Tsleil-Waututh and the Squamish nations. We just have a few announcements. There's lots of information in your highlights, so do take a look at what's going on there. Next Sunday is our annual general meeting, and that will take place immediately following our worship service. There will be some child minding at that time, so please plan to be here. There'll be some refreshments to keep us going, and I think probably Wendy wants to say something over there.
You were stealing my thunder. Yes, I didn't realize, Ken, you were going to take that on. But I do want to encourage everybody to come to the annual general meeting, which will be next Sunday. There will be child minding. There will be some food for snacks in between. I do encourage you, if you can go online and find these two amazing documents. We are so fortunate to have Carol Smith in the office who pulls all this information together and makes it so visually attractive and easy to read. You have your annual general meeting document with budget and reports and everything in that you should look through so that you're prepared for the meeting next week. And the other smaller document, which you'll find equally or even more interesting, is our 5-year ministry plan, which we also need to look at and approve next Sunday as part of that. I think that's everything. Thank you.
Wendy. Just a couple of other things. The seniors bus trip that's going to explore the Fraser Valley and stay overnight at Harrison Hot Springs. It's later in the year, but it's important that those that want to attend or be a part of that let Colleen know, because she's got to organize all of that. Birthdays. Who has a birthday in the month of March? Put your hand up. Oh, good. So cake this morning for all of you, and those that were away in February or might be away in April, you're welcome to join them. It's down in the fireside room. So if you have a birthday at this time of year, it's a good place to be. You get cake and juice and coffee, and you get to share birthdays with all sorts of other people and meet some new friends, maybe even a twin. So, highlights. Do look at those. There's lots going on in the life of the church. But now we enter into the season of Lent. And on this journey, we move into the dark wood. And it's a place, it's a feeling, it's an experience of both darkness and light. And so we settle our hearts and we begin to prepare to move on our way into something that can be challenging and can be difficult, but it can be enriching and a place that gives life as well. I'm going to ask Will if he'll come up, and he's just got a couple of things he wants to.
So there's a couple of pieces of music in your bulletin, and will also be on the screen. The first one is sort of the threshold moment. It's the thing we sing as we walk across the threshold into worship together, and Janet is going to sing that at the beginning as a solo, so you will pick up the tune, and then after that, and you're invited to stand as the Christ candle comes in. And then there's a kind of an echo where Janet sings the first line and then you sing it back to her, and that's also in your bulletin. And then once that's happened, we'll sing it all together. So you sort of one step at a time across the threshold into worship. And then you'll notice the same tune comes at the end as we step across the threshold back into the world. Same tune, slightly different words. There's another tune also as the offering is coming forward, our communion hymn. It's called I Want Jesus to Walk With Me, and maybe you could just play that a little bit so they will not be hearing it for the first time. It goes like this. like this. I want Jesus to walk with me. I want Jesus to walk with me all along my pilgrim journey. Lord, I want Jesus to walk with me. So now that's at least somewhere in the gray matter there, and it'll come back to you when the time comes to sing. Right?
There's a path, though it winds its way through darkness, we would choose to avoid it if we could. We awake to an unexpected calling. God says, come. There are gifts in the dark wood. There's a path, though it winds its way through darkness, we would choose to avoid it if we could. We awake to an unexpected calling. God says, come. There are gifts in the dark wood. There's a path, though it winds its way through darkness, we would choose to avoid it if we could. We awake to an unexpected calling. God says, come. There are gifts in the dark wood.
Let us pray. Unexpected love, enter our lives not only in the stunning brightness of the day, but open us to the gifts residing deep within the holy darkness as well. Walk with us, speak to us, call to us. In your many names we pray. Amen.
Thank you.
would like to call all the children and youth up to the front for a time with all God's children. And I would like you to come and sit right here. So come on up. Come on, Robbie. Excellent. Come on, Robbie. Come on, guys. Awesome. So, come over here, Robbie. Awesome. Today is the first Sunday in Lent, and we are about to go on a journey into the dark wood. Now, I don't know where the path is going to take us, but I do know that together we are going to uncover some amazing gifts along the way. Now, to help us prepare for our journey, Carl is going to lead us in a prayer.
Awesome. Okay, so I think everyone can probably do this with me. So this is a repeat after me prayer.
This is a repeat after me prayer.
Our eyes are open to see your face.
Our eyes are open to see your face.
Our ears are ready to hear your call.
Our ears are ready to hear your call.
Our feet are ready to walk your path.
Our feet are ready to walk your path.
Our hands are ready to share your grace.
Our hands are ready to share your grace.
Our hearts are ready to feel your love.
Our hearts are ready to feel your love.
And our minds are ready to know your grace.
Our minds are ready to know your grace.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Okay, we are going to need something to help us on our journey. Something that will help remind us that we are human and that we are not perfect, and it's okay to not be perfect. But something also to remind us that we are special. So our Sunday school teachers are going to hand out some rocks to each one of you. Okay, so when you get your rock, I want you to hold it in your hand, and I want you to feel the weight of the rock in your hand. Yeah, and I want you to rub the rock and feel if it's smooth or if it's bumpy. But feel how solid it is. Okay? Now, I want you to just hold on to your rock real tight, and I'm going to tell you what we're going to do with our rock in a bit, okay? So, I wonder if any of you have been to the beach before at low tide when the tide is out and there's rocks, and I wonder if you've gone down and you've lifted up a rock to see if there are any crabs or any other little animals. Yeah, have you guys done that before? I love doing that. So in front of us here is a pathway. It is our pathway for Lent. And there are 6 big rocks here on the table. And each week, we are going to lift up one of these rocks to see what kind of gifts might be underneath it. So I'm going to start with the first rock right here, okay? Oh, there's some writing on this rock. It says, I don't know. No, it actually says, I don't know. Well, yeah, it's a perfect place to start. See, in God's world, there are so many things that we don't know about. And some people have a hard time with not understanding all the answers, and they want those answers immediately. But it's okay not to know. It's okay to be unsure. But there is one that is always sure. God is always sure that you guys are loved, and God is always sure that you will never be alone. So, this week and throughout Lent, I want you to keep your rock close to you. And maybe you put it on your bedside table, or maybe you put it in your pocket, or maybe in your backpack. And if ever there is a time that you feel like you don't know the answers, or that you're worried, or that you are unsure, hold your rock and always know that God's love for you is as solid and as sure as the rock that is in your hand. May it be so. Amen. Let's go to Sunday school.
Our scripture readings this morning are from 1 Corinthians and from Matthew. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 11 to 12. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became an adult, I put an end to childish ways. For now we see in a mirror, dimly, but then we will see face to face. Now I know only in part. Then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known. And continuing with Matthew chapter 14, verses 22 to 33, the message. Walking on the water. As soon as the meal was finished, he insisted that the disciples get in the boat and go on ahead to the other side while he dismissed the people. With the crowd dispersed, he climbed the mountain so he could be by himself and pray. He stayed there alone, late into the night. Meanwhile, the boat was far out to sea when the wind came up against them and they were battered by the waves. At about 4 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came toward them walking on the water. They were scared out of their wits. "A ghost," they said, crying out in terror. But Jesus was quick to comfort them. "Courage, it's me. Don't be afraid." Peter, suddenly bold, said, "Master, if it's really you, call me to come to you on the water." He said, "Come ahead." Jumping out of the boat, Peter walked on the water to Jesus. But when he looked down at the waves churning beneath his feet, he lost his nerve and started to sink. He cried, "Master, save me!" Jesus didn't hesitate. He reached down and grabbed his hand. Then he said, "Faint heart, what got into you?" The two of them climbed into the boat, and the wind died down. The disciples in the boat, having watched the whole thing, worshiped Jesus, saying, "This is it. You are God's Son for sure." Hear what the Spirit says to us.
Spirit, lead us where our trust is without borders. Let us walk upon the waters wherever you would call us. Take us deeper than our feet could ever wander, that our faith would be made stronger in the presence of our beloved and your beloved, the one who sets us free. Amen. So have you ever gone for a walk in a dark wood? Or found yourself walking in a dark wood? It hasn't happened often to me, literally, but it has happened. I got lost one time on Okanagan Mountain with my friend Roger when we were young teens. Roger and I were kind of W.O. Mitchell-style boys, tearing around the hills north of Naramata on our bikes and on foot, and placing pennies on the railway tracks in the hope that a train might come by and squash them, and lighting campfires on the tracks so that we could take the apples that we'd taken out of the neighbor's orchard and stick them on a stick and roast them, and I remember we were searching for Baker Lake, which is up on the very top of Okanagan Mountain Park. We were going there using a map, and there was no trail. We were spending the whole day. Well, we got lost one time in our search for Baker Lake, and it was on our way down. We thought we'd left enough time to meet Roger's dad at the road, but we were kind of eyeballing it. We knew the road was down there, and so we would go down, and it was nice and wide open at the top, but as it got steeper, it got narrower, and then we were in a canyon. So we had to kind of turn around and go back up again and move along and try a different one as it got darker and darker and darker until time was past when we were supposed to meet Roger's dad, and it was dark, and we were in a dark wood. We didn't know whether to be more scared of needing to spend the night on Okanagan Mountain or needing to meet our parents late on the road. Roger's dad was a pretty gracious guy when we finally made it there and met him on the road. But it's one of those childhood experiences that sticks with me because of the shadows and the worry and the fear and the got to go all the way back up and look for another way down. Well, in his epic poem, The Divine Comedy, the 12th, 13th century poet Dante says, "In the middle of our life's journey, I found myself, or I woke up in a dark wood." Many ancient wisdom writers of almost all traditions talk about times in life in which we find ourselves in a metaphorical dark wood. When we can't see clearly the road ahead, it's a time of disorientation, a time when what we thought we could count on, we can't count on, a time of loss, emptiness, disillusionment, and of course, we never kind of seek out those times, but they come. They're just, frankly, a function of being human, being limited, being mortal. One stream within our tradition offers us the promise that if we pray hard enough, in the midst of our struggle, in the midst of the dark wood, God will solve the mystery. God will give us an answer. We'll chase back the darkness. We'll take our feet to firm ground. Jesus is the answer. And there's a whole movement within the broadest fashioning of the Christian tradition known as the prosperity gospel that preaches asking God to answer all our prayers, and if you just hand it over to God in the right way, you will be successful. Your company will thrive. Your marriage will be all smiles. Your kids will never do drugs. It'll all come up roses. No dark wood there. But there's a number of other threads within the Christian tradition which speak quite differently of the dark wood. And the mystical tradition, the mystical stream, approaches these times very differently. Approaches them as kind of unavoidable moments in our very human journey. Moments in which we may well encounter the divine in ways that we would never have encountered the divine in the times of light and ease, in ways that we never could have imagined, and in ways that could reveal to us a hidden gift that is embedded within the experience of the dark wood. God does not promise relief from the struggle, or release even, but rather promises transformation and a new life within and in the midst of the struggle. And to me, that is the witness of the Jesus that God, of the God that Jesus was trying to lead us to and continues to try to lead us to. I mean, for the disciples, life with Jesus was an invitation to the dark wood, and although they most of the time didn't realize it, as we don't either. An invitation into the depth dimension of life where they were guaranteed to encounter all kinds of things that we encounter in the midst of the struggle. If you go and take the literal approach to our gospel story, for example, today, even just if you release from that literal approach just a little bit, you can just see how rich a metaphor this story is for life. So I'm not even going to get into the whole walking on the water thing as a literal thing, because this story is so packed with meaning metaphorically. Jesus tells the disciples to go on ahead of him across the lake while he disperses the crowd. And so they do. They go out without him. And immediately they're in a bit of a storm. And it's crashing on the boat. They're in rough water. And they look and they see, but they don't understand what they're seeing. They see him on the water. And they don't understand, and they're afraid. They see dimly, as Paul puts it, as in a mirror. As we do, they're confused. But Jesus identifies himself in the middle of the storm, and that emboldens Peter. Just knowing that he is in good company emboldens him. And he steps out of the boat, takes the risk in the middle of the storm to venture out in ways that he never would have only moments before. And at first, he's able to rise above the storm until the storm shakes his focus, concentration, whatever it shakes in him, that he starts to sink within it and cries out and is met with an open hand and the help he needs. And they find themselves back in the boat. It's only then that the storm abates. Hooking our star to the gospel way of Jesus is a kind of a stepping out into the deep. It's venturing into the dark wood. We can try to avoid the dark wood experiences, the experiences of turmoil, the struggle. We could try to step around them, but they're there. And there is no promise in the Christian faith that says that the darkness will recede, that the storm will pass, that the path will become clear, that we will get ourselves out of the dark wood. Although relief does come, but any casting of the life of faith that promises answers like that is not paying attention either to the Bible or to life. That's not the way it works. But what is promised is that in the midst of the struggle, we will encounter the divine, whether we know it or not. We will encounter the divine in a way and at a depth that we would not have otherwise known God. And within that encounter, we will discover the gifts of the dark wood. These gifts will come in the forms that are often very counterintuitive, unexpected ways that we will receive a gift. And these gifts are hidden within the experience of the struggle that we often try to avoid. So today is the first. Throughout Lent, we will explore different gifts that are received in the midst of life struggle. And today, the first gift that we encounter is the gift of uncertainty, or the gift of, I don't know. How could that possibly be a gift? I mean, we tend not to mind uncertainty on a theoretical level. I mean, any decent movie, any decent story, any decent adventure needs to have a level of uncertainty. Otherwise, it's not fun. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it, right? So, in theory, we kind of like uncertainty on some levels, right? But on a practical level, when it comes to our precious relationships, we're not so keen on uncertainty. We were talking about this in study group this week, and I was thinking, like, I kind of like uncertainty in a lot of things. Any game that you play, if it doesn't have a level of uncertainty, it's not worth playing. Right? But when it comes to my kids, I kind of lock down when it comes to kind of higher level uncertainty. I want to know they're going to be okay. I don't want to just think they're going to be okay. Right? I don't get to, but I want to. That's the struggle for me. But life involves uncertainty on all levels, whether we like it or not. And if we are patient with it, if we don't run from it or try to lock it down, if we can sit with it for a while, it does actually become a gift to us. We learn to live with uncertainty and even thrive in it as we practice patience with it. Peter took his first steps out onto the water, but he did not make a habit of walking on water. What he did make a habit of was taking risks, was stepping into situations where he did not know the outcome, speaking in squares where he did not know who was there, and what the response was going to be. That became a habit of Peter's. Stepping out, venturing into the I don't know. Embracing the gift of uncertainty means that you learn to trust in a way and at a depth that otherwise we would not really allow ourselves to trust. John Ortberg, in his book, Faith and Doubt, talks about our approach to uncertainty. And he says, we all think we want certainty, but we don't. What we really want is trust, wisely placed. Trust is better than certainty because it honors the freedom of the person and makes possible growth and intimacy that certainty could never offer. You know this in your relationships. I mean, is this making some sense? I mean, do you recognize dark wood times in your life in which you could not avoid uncertainty? Not easy times. Because they often involve, or they're connected with loss and risk and struggle. I mean, you may be in one of those times right now. And I cannot promise you an easy way out. Our faith doesn't promise us an easy way out. What I can promise you is that God lives in the dark wood. God lives there. God walks its paths and is familiar with the ways of the dark wood. As the great dark wood song, 139, puts it, where can I go from your spirit, or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make the grave my bed, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and settle in the farthest reaches of the sea, even there, your hand will lead me and your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will cover me and the light will become night. Even darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as the day, for darkness is as light to you. God walks the paths of the dark wood ahead of us, behind us, and beside us. So here's the call for the season that is before us. I mean, rarely do we choose uncertainty willingly. If certainty is available, we don't choose uncertainty. But we see dimly. If clarity were available, we would choose it. However, there may well be gifts hidden in our dimness of vision. I had a friend once in Canoe, my church in Canoe, who lost his sight. First in one eye through one accident, and then in his second eye at the age of 49 through another accident. And he said to me at the age of 72, I was blind until I was 49. Into the dark wood he went and received the gift of sight. Instead of striving after better vision to no avail or decrying the dark the darkness of the wood instead of kicking at our human limitations? What if we were to embrace them? Turn them over in our hands like one of those stones on the beach. And what if we sought after the gift that is within them? What if we took the risk of stepping out of the boat into the uncertain waters of our life, trusting in the buoyancy of God? What if we took that dark wood experience in our past, or the one that we are in right now, and let it speak to us? Let it offer us its wisdom. Let it relinquish its gift to us. Welcome to the journey. Amen.
Offer our trust to the God who walks that path with us. We offer our hearts to the one who never leaves us there alone. We offer our thanks for the gifts of the dark wood. And as we come to this time of offering, out of the uncertainty of our living, we give because we are called to do that. Your offering will not be received. Please join me as we say together our prayer of dedication. Here are our treasures from our storehouses, signs of the commitment we make to walk in your ways, O God. Here is bread and wine, fruit of your abundance among us, and sign of your grace. Bless what is given and what will be received, that we and these gifts may serve you all along our pilgrim journey.
Please be seated. Friends, we gather around the table in the way after the fashion of the one we seek to follow, Jesus, who gathered around tables of this kind, broke the bread, shared the cup, and he gathered with all manner of people, and we are all manner of people. God knows we are. And he turned to them and said, "You're welcome." He invited them from the streets to be a part of the meal. He gathered all kinds of people. And so we follow in that way, and we gather all kinds of people, and you're some of them of many kinds, and there are others that we could invite to this table, knowing that in God's economy, everyone is invited to this table. So I hope you sense and can step into that welcome. We receive communion. There are 4 stations at the front and 1 in the balcony. The one that is on your far left is a completely gluten-free station, so feel free to completely participate in this meal. Even if you need gluten-free bread, it's right there, and the rest have gluten in them. So, and as you come forward, I just invite you to come to one of the stations, take a piece of the bread, dip it in the cup, and receive in that way.
The holy living God be with you.
Also with you. Lift up your hearts.
We lift them up to the Lord. Let us give thanks to the Lord our God.
It is right to give our thanks and praise. Let us pray. God of the journey, it is right and a good and joyful thing always and everywhere to give thanks to you. You have created all that is, and we are grateful.
Although we feel lost at times, you are ever present. Sometimes we back away from you, insistent on our own power to pull us through, refusing to stop and wait and listen in patience for the next steps. But you continue to show up, waiting patiently for us to turn to you once again. You are here to meet us, speak to us once again, always faithful, always present in this body, this table, in this body. And so together we proclaim praise-filled truth of your glory, along with all the saints.
Holy are you, and blessed is your Son, Jesus, our Christ. He proclaimed freedom for the bound, justice for the oppressed, grace for the lost, love for the prodigal. Through the life and ministry of Jesus, we can imagine and live into a community of love where no one is afraid.
And on the night in which he gave himself up for us, he took bread, gave thanks to you, broke the bread, gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take, eat. My body is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me."
When the supper was over, he took the cup. Gave thanks to you, gave it to his disciples, and said, "Drink from this, all of you. This is the cup of the new covenant poured out for you. Do this as often as you drink this in remembrance of me."
And so we remember, we offer ourselves, we offer our prayers for the world and for those that we hold dear. We claim renewed strength for the journey.
Pour out your Holy Spirit on us gathered here, and on these gifts of bread, the fruit of the vine. Take them, make them be for us sustenance on our way, crumbs on the path, leading us home. Amen. These are the gifts of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. join together in the prayer after communion. Oh God, thank you for your presence here and always. By your Spirit, open us each other along this journey. Open us to the world, making us one in you, step of the way, through Christ and in the power of your amazing grace. And now, before I send you out, I want to just spend just a brief moment to say, Arthur, you've been with us for 3 weeks. You've stepped into Geordie's shoes in an amazing way. Thank you so much for your musical gifts and for sharing them here. Microphone. So, from the midst of the world, from the midst of your life, God calls. Step out of the boat. Step out upon the waters. Step into whatever life holds. Take the risk. Enter the wood. I'll meet you there. And know that everyone you encounter, whatever their life experience, they may be in a dark wood. They may be walking through storms. Wherever they are, God is present. God knows those paths. So go with that confidence. Go and bear that confidence to the world. And know that the peace of Christ attends you. The love of God surrounds you. And the Holy Spirit keeps you. Now and always.
There's a path, and it leads us out together to the wood, where the darkness hovers still. We are sent, and the Spirit goes before us. God says, go, be my presence in the wood. There's a a path, and it leads us out together to the wood, where the darkness hovers still. We are sent, and the Spirit goes before us. God says, go, be my presence in the wood. There's a path, and it leads us out together to the wood, where the darkness hovers still. We are sent, and the Spirit goes before us. God says, go,